30点。もっと勉強しろ、お団子頭。
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to another exciting edition of Watch Sailor Moon Learn Japanese. This is a series. If you have not already seen the first four, I think there's 4 parts before this one. Anyway, if you've not seen the first number of parts before this segment, you can go back and watch those. But what I do in this series is I'm taking the very first episode of Sailor Moon from the 90s version, and I'm breaking down all of the dialogue, one word at a time, one grammar rule at a time, and I am teaching Japanese based off of that. So if you like Sailor Moon, and if you're at the intermediate-ish level of Japanese, this is going to be a pretty good resource for you. If you're a beginner, it can still be a pretty good resource for you. You're just going to kind of be lost a little bit, and I'm also expecting that you've already seen the first several segments of these videos that I've done before this one. All right, so let's jump into it. So Naru-chan and Usagi go to Naru-chan's mom's jewelry shop. And unbeknownst to them, but beknownst to us, Naru-chan's mom is actually Moruga, the Yoma, the monster of the day that Jadeite sent to steal human energy. So Naru-chan greets Moruga, or her mom, with Mama. So Mama, you could translate that as just mama, but I think it's a little more just like plain old mom. Mama is too much like baby talk, and it is a more childish, cutesy, baby-ish way of saying mom in Japanese, but it's not quite the same nuance as mama is in English. It's kind of more like mommy or mom. It's sort of like in between those two. So I would just translate that as mom. And Naru-chan's mom says, "Ara, okaeri, Naru-chan." So ara is like, oh my heavens. It's the sort of thing that if you are sort of a posh kind of female character, ara, it's like, oh my goodness. Okaeri means welcome home. And that's an airplane. I'll drink some water until it goes away. Kaeru literally means to return home, basically. So okaeri, it kind of like literally means like, I command you to return in good spirits. It's sort of that kind of feel to it. But, you know, that's literally what it means. But in actual practical Japanese, it's just something that people say to someone when they return back, either home or to the office. They go out and they do something and then they return. It's just a way of saying hello to someone who has returned. So I don't always translate that as welcome back. I just translate that as hi, honestly, in this case, because she's not home exactly. She's in her mom's jewelry shop. It's like, oh, you just finished school and now you came here. Hello. And then Naru-chan says, o-tomodachi tsurete-kita no yo. O-tomodachi is friend. Tsurete-kita. So tsurete is the te form of tsureru, which means to bring along with. So tsurete-kita means it's that thing where you end a te form of a verb with kuru or iku, which is to come or to go, or in this case it's the past tense, kita. So tsurete-kita, if she just said like tsureta, o-tomodachi tsureta, it just means like past tense, I took a friend with me, or I brought a friend with me. But tsurete-kita means like, I took this friend and I brought her here. We came here together. It kind of tells a more complete story. Sounds less like harsh and robotic. And then the no-yo, as I've covered in many other videos, is this very feminine, sort of like, aha, I did this thing, you know? Usagi says, konnichiwa. Who doesn't know what konnichiwa means? So this is another one of those things. It literally means this day is ... or as for this day ... But in practical application, it just means hello, good afternoon, hi. It's not like super polite. It's not super impolite either. It's just very neutral. Hello. Naru-chan's mom says, Ma is kind of like ara. So Naru-chan's mom, she is definitely more of the aristocracy, or she at least like wants to project that image that she's part of the aristocracy. But I'd say she's kind of more upper class, you know, given that she runs this jewelry shop and it has pretty good merchandise, the way she dresses, even though that isn't Naru's mom and it's Morga impersonating Naru's mom, she's really embodying and impersonating Naru's mom like really, really well. So we can tell from the way she's speaking that she's a very higher class, more affected manner of speaking, very feminine. So my goodness. Yoku irashite kudasatta wa. So yoku, it means, it's the adverb. So yoi or I just means good. So yoku means like goodly, the adverb of good. So well. Irashite means to come, to be welcomed, to visit. Kudasatta, that is the past tense of kudasai, actually, which means please. But if you're telling somebody that they did something like a verb and then you add kudasatta, that means you're saying that they did this verb for you, and you're being so very polite about it. So she's basically, in a very polite way, telling Usagi, oh, it is indeed an honor and a pleasure that you have blessed us with your presence. It's that sort of thing. It's not like that grovelly and not that kiss-assy, I guess. It's just extremely polite. And she's saying this as both a rich woman, higher class woman, and also as the proprietor of a shop. So in Japan, if you've never been to Japan and if you've never been in a shop, you won't know this, but if you have been, you'll know if you go to a shop in Japan, you are God, you are royalty. Everyone there, all the clerks there, all the sales staff there, they treat you like you are the emperor. Like they're super, super polite to you. So to translate it in English as her being very, very, very polite, like, oh, we are so honored and humbled by your presence in our lowly store. That doesn't really work well in English because we're not that polite to customers. But yeah, in Japan, they're extremely super polite to customers. So that's partly why Naru's mom is speaking like this to Usagi, even though Usagi's younger than she is and of lower status. The wa at the end of the sentence, as I've covered in other videos, is just she's very feminine. Feminine speakers usually end their sentences in wa. Kansei Ben speakers also sometimes end their sentences in wa, whether or not they're feminine. Just a side note. Kondemasu kedo. So kondemasu, that is the polite te-iru form of komu? Konderu? Komu? Konderu is the plain form, which means to be crowded. So kondemasu is like the polite version of that. So it's like, it is crowded, and I'm saying so in a very polite way. Kedo, it means but, so it's really crowded, but. Yukkuri means slowly. Mite ite choudai. So mite ite comes from the root form of, it comes from the root verb miru, which is to see. Mite is the te form. So mite ite means like it is the kind imperative form of to be here looking. So it's like, oh, please feel free to stay here and be looking, mite ite, to be looking around here. Chodai is kind of like kudasai. It's less formal than kudasai. Chodai is more like, will you do this thing for me? Will you be a love and do this thing for me? It can also be kind of rude, like if you just like hold out your empty plate and be like, chodai, or like pizza chodai, like give me pizza. It can be rude. In that case, it's not. It's like, oh, well, you know, take your time, go yukkuri. It's like, be slow as you're looking around. As in, you can take all day if you want to. Like, please do this for me. Please take your time and be looking in my store all around. The ne at the end makes it very kind and soft and inviting. And also a little feminine. Hi! So, hi. If you've seen my video where I broke down a scene of Garasu no Kamen and talked about hai, yes, sumimasen, and arigato, hai does not always mean yes. It means so many different things. And in this case, hi, when she's saying hi, it's more like acknowledging that she understands everything that was said to her. And she's kind of saying like, yes, I will do all of those things that you told me. So it's not yes. It's not her just being like, yes! That would be a really bad translation. So it's more like, okay, I will do that. Or yes, ma'am. Or it can also kind of mean thanks. Like, thanks, I got it, I'm gonna totally do it. Does not mean yes. Then Naru-chan's mom, or Morga, says, そうだわ. So そうだ means like, oh yeah. By the way, there's this thing that I meant to tell you and I haven't told you. So そうだ. It's something that people say when, like, oh yeah, there's this thing that I was going to tell you. And now I'm remembering it and now I'm going to tell you. It's that kind of expression. And then the wa at the end makes it, more high class femme. Naru-chan no tomodachi nara. So Naru-chan no, so no means apostrophe s. So Naru-chan no o-tomodachi. O-tomodachi is just the polite version of tomodachi, which means friend. If you add an o before pretty much any noun or a go before pretty much any noun, it makes it polite. Naru-chan no o-tomodachi nara. So nara means if. It's the if part of an if-then statement. So if you are Naru-chan's friend, or since you are Naru-chan's friend, and then we're going to have the then part of the statement after that. Sarani omake shichau wa. So sarani means even more. Like there was something that was happening, but I'm gonna like up that ante, and I'm gonna do that thing even more. Omake means to give someone a freebie, or to have some kind of extra. Shichau means to do something either completely or sort of like unfortunately. So omake shichau means sort of like, I'm gonna give you this extra special thing, even though it hurts me, kind of thing. Omake shichau, like even though I shouldn't. Omake suru would just mean like, I'm gonna give you this extra freebie, but omake shichau means like, ooh, I shouldn't be doing this because it's bad, but I'm gonna give you an extra freebie. And sarani is like, I'm already selling my jewelry at reduced prices. Like if you remember in 2 scenes ago, Naru-chan was telling Usagi, hey, my mom has this huge bargain sale going on in her jewelry store right now. They're selling, really expensive diamonds for really, really cheap. So she's like, sarani, it's like I'm already selling these things for really cheap, but sarani, like additionally, even more so, I'm going to sell them for even cheaper. I'm going to give you even more freebies, even though I shouldn't. Usagi says, honto desu ka? So honto means like the truth, really. But if you're saying honto, like a question, it means really? Or like, is that so? So honto desu ka? That's like the very polite way of being like, oh my goodness, do you really mean it? And then she goes, yatta, lucky! So yatta literally means, it's the past tense of to do, so did it. But as an exclamation, it's more like yippee, woohoo, yay! And then lucky, yeah, that's lucky. But we don't, in American English, we don't just like go, lucky. We don't just go, lucky. We will say something like kick-ass or yeah, or nowadays we say bless if we're younger and do meme speak. I don't actually know if I use that correctly because I'm old. But anyway, lucky, it's like, today's my lucky day. Yay, kick-ass, awesome. That's what it means.
ダイヤならこれなんかどう ?50 万円の品なんだけど。50万円
Then Naru-chan's mom / Morga says, Daya nara kore nanka do? So remember nara from earlier? It's that if part of an if-then statement. So daya nara, and from a previous video you might remember that daya means diamond. So daya nara, if diamond, then something. So this is one of those instances where you kind of glean from context the whole thing. The whole sentence would be like, Daya o osagashi nara. It's like, if you are searching for diamonds. But she's leaving out the verb, sagasu in there, and just like, Daya nara. It's like, if you are interested in diamonds, or if it's diamonds you're looking for. That's what it's implying, even though we're not using any of those verbs. So, Daya nara. Kore nanka do? So, kore means this. Nanka means like something like. So kore nanka would be something like this. Do is like, what do you think? How about this. So これなんかどう means like, what about something like this? So ダイヤなら, like if you're in the market for diamonds, if diamonds are what you want, これなんかどう? Like, what about this one? 50円、50万円。50万円. So, numbers. I hate numbers. Numbers are kind of my kryptonite, especially man, and it's like weird. I really like math and numbers, but for some reason the whole man thing trips me up every single time, and I have to like write out how many zeros are there for it to make sense to me. Anyway, man is 10,000. So, goju is 50. So it's 50 10,000, which means if you just put all the zeros together, it's 500,000. So 500,000 yen. That sounds like a lot of money, but remember the general conversion rate, it's not perfect, especially the larger you get in the numbers, but the ballpark figure is you subtract 2 zeros. So 500,000 becomes just like 5,000. So it's about $5,000 US dollars. And again, that's like a very rough ballpark figure. It's not perfect. 500,000 yen. No shina. So shina is like goods, merchandise. And the no in this case, it's more turning the 500,000 yen into an adjective, even though 500,000 yen is a noun. It's turning that whole concept, you put it in brackets, and it becomes an adjective because there's a no after it. So it's like, it's the merchandise of 500,000 yen, but that sounds weird in English, right? So I prefer to think of it as no in this case is turning the 500,000 yen concept into an adjective for shina, merchandise. So this merchandise, this diamond thing is ordinarily worth 500,000 yen. That's a lot of money. なんだけど, it means it is definitely the case that this thing is the case. However, ... And usually if you end a sentence with なんだけど, it means like you're going to follow it up with something like, it was 500,000 yen, but now I've reduced it quite a bit. She's implying that she's going to go on and say something, but she's like, it's worth this much, you know. And then Usagi's like, 50万円? Like, what? It's worth 500,000 yen?
でも思い切って3万円に負けちゃうわ。50万円が3万円。
And then Morga says, でも, but, however, 思い切って. So 思い切って is kind of like to go all out. I'm gonna take the plunge. 3万円. So man, remember, is 10,000. So 3man is 3 times 10,000. So 30,000 yen. Which again, roughly converted into American dollars, it's about $300. And yeah, it's extremely cheap for something that's like $5,000 to $300. Just to kind of help you guys that know roughly what dollars are worth. So 思い切って3万円に負けちゃうわ. So this 負けちゃう thing, it can come from omake, again, like giving you this freebie. But 負けちゃう, like 負ける is to lose. So it's like, it means she's gonna, my kitten is mewing at the door. It means she can bear to part with it. It's kind of like, you know, when you're dealing with a salesman in, you know, English in the United States or other places in the world where they speak English. It's like, well, it used to be this much money, but I'm gonna, you know, take a hit. I'm gonna take a loss, and I'm gonna give it to you for this special low price. It's that kind of language. I'm gonna go all out, 思い切って, and like, I'm practically giving it away. It's that kind of feeling. And then Naru-chan and Usagi-chan both at the same time are like, 50万円が3万円. So the ga in there, so it's basically 500,000 yen, 30,000 yen. And the ga in between them is like, this thing that was 500,000 yen is, ga kind of means is in this case, 30,000 yen, question mark, what? Again, you're not adding all of the words into that sentence. It's not like 50万円の品が3万円になっちゃった. Like that would be a complete Japanese sentence, but you don't have to fill in all the blanks with all of those words. You could just be like, 500,000 yen, 30,000 yen. And then the big rich looking lady, I can't quite tell if she's saying this or not. I think she's saying chotto. And if she is saying chotto, chotto means just a little bit, but it can also mean like, whoa, hold up, wait, or like Elaine from Seinfeld when she's like, get out, and like pushes people. It kind of has that feel to it sometimes. Get out! And then a big riot ensues over the jewelry. Naru-chan says, "Sugoi wa ne, mattaku." Sugoi means like awesome, amazing, unbelievable, incredible. Wa ne is like this feminine sort of whoa, dude, ending to something like sugoi wa ne is like whoa, that's intense. And then mattaku, it means good grief. Or like Jesus Christ. I can't translate it as Jesus Christ, unfortunately, like ever, because Americans are so sensitive with like religious blasphemy or whatever. But like Jesus Christ or Jesus is actually, I think, the best equivalent of mataku. It really just has that sort of like, oh my God, Jesus, like for crying out loud. And then Usagi again repeats those numbers, the bane of my existence. 50万円が3万円か. So again, she's repeating that like it was 500,000 yen is now 30,000 yen ka. If you end a sentence in ka with that sort of inflection, it's sort of like the statement that you're saying followed with comma a or ha, or like, whoa, like how do you like that? So it's like, whoa, it was 500,000 yen and now it's only 30,000 yen, man. It's that sort of feeling to it. And then she says, hoshii na. Hoshii means to want something. It is an adjective that means to want something. It is not a verb that means to want something. It just means, it's an adjective that means you want something. Kind of like ski is an adjective that means that you like something. It's not a verb to like something. It is an adjective that means that you like something, that something is favorable to you. So hoshii is also an adjective that means like you want something. But hoshii na, it's like, oh man, I want that. Nana-chan says, papa ni onedari shichae na yo. So if you are a fan of baby metal, they have this song like onedari sakusen. So onedari, it means to like to beg for something in a clever sort of strategic way. Like, you know, put the idea in someone's head like, hey, get me this thing. And like beg for it in a cute way. It's like, I think I've kind of only really heard it used in the context of like a pet begging its master for food, or like a son or a daughter begging a parent for something, and you know, like buttering up your parent for something. So papa ni, again, papa, it's not really papa, it's more like just dad. It's between dad and daddy. So papa ni onedari. So that means to beg your dad to like act cute and beg for this thing with your dad. To do that to your dad. Shichae. So suru is to do. How does that turn into shichae? So shichau, you might remember that from earlier. Suru is just to do something. Shichau is like to do something completely or unfortunately or like in the wrong way. So shichae, if you change the u to e, it becomes the imperative form. So it's like the imperative form of doing something in a complete or like sort of wrong way. So it's sort of like, come on, just beg your dad for it. Like, even though that's wrong, even though you shouldn't be doing that, just beg your dad to get it for you. And the nayo, at the end, it's more like it's like a commanding, come on girl, you just do that.
でも英語赤点取っちゃったしね。あ、そっか。今月のお小遣いももうないし。
And then Usagi goes, demo, but, eigo wa, eigo is English, wa is that particle, as for, ... So as for English, Akaten, you might remember from a former video in the series, literally means red points or red score, but it means an F. I failed. So, 英語はakaten 取っちゃったし、取っちゃった comes from toru, which is to take. Akaten o toru or akaten toru is to get an F, to fail a test. So, 取っちゃった is the past tense unfortunate form of toru. So, 取った is just the past tense of toru. So, akaten 取った means I got an F. Akaten 取っちゃった means I got an F and that really sucks. And she's adding the she at the end of that. Usually if you add usually if you end a thought with she, you're going to follow it up with something else. So if I'm like telling you why, like I say, I don't like wasabi. And they're like, oh, Sarah, why don't you like wasabi? And then I'll be like, well, it's way too spicy. It makes my eyes water. And I don't like the shade of green that it is. That last part's not really true. I like green. I don't like wasabi for those two reasons. But anyway, usually she would be between those things. So if I'm speaking English and using she, and I'm explaining why I don't like wasabi, it's too spicy, she. It makes my eyes water, she. And it's an ugly shade of green. So I'm using she to kind of connect the thoughts of explaining why usually explaining why something's bad, not usually explaining why something's good. But you can also totally use it to explain things that are good. Like if I'm explaining why I love my husband, like he's funny, he's intelligent, and he's a really good cuddler. I would say he's funny, she, he's really intelligent, she, and he's a really good cuddler. That's why I love my husband. So it's like if you're listing reasons why you feel a certain way about something, you use she to kind of connect those thoughts. If you just end a sentence in she and kind of trail off and don't add anything else after that, what that implies is, like, and what Usagi's saying right there, like I got akaten, I got an F in my English test. She, ... She's basically implying, well, I got an F in my English test, and that's only the beginning of my problems. Like there's other reasons why I can't beg my dad to give me this jewelry. It's like, well, for starters, I got an F on my English test. And it's like, there are other reasons why I can't beg my dad for the money or for, getting me the jewelry. But it's like the fact that I got an F on this English test, like that alone is just kind of a non-starter. And then Naru-chan says, suka. So suka is like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Oh, good point. That's kind of what suka means. And then Usagi goes on, she does give more reasons. So she says, kongetsu, that means this month. Like if you break down the kanji, it literally means this month. Kongetsu no, so this month, su. Okozukai means allowance. So kongetsu no kozukai mo. So again, she's adding on to this thought of that she can't ask her dad for a diamond ring because she failed her English test. And now she's adding more reasons to that list of why she can't ask her dad. So that's why there's mo. Mo means also. So it's like, well, also there's the fact that this month's allowance, mo nai shi. So mo nai means like not anymore. Is no longer here. So, もうないし. So, 今月の小遣いもうないし means like, I also am out of this month's allowance. I already used up this month's allowance too. And she, so we're making this whole list of reasons why she can't get that diamond ring. Like she can't ask her dad for it because she got an F on her English test. And besides, she doesn't have any more allowance left. She used this month's allowance up already. And there could be more reasons after that. That's why there's she after that. And then Naru-chan, this is another one of those instances where there's a lot of humor, a lot of subtle humor in Sailor Moon, especially old school Sailor Moon from the 90s, that I think really, unfortunately can't be translated very well into the subtitles, and I think a lot of us are missing. So Naru-chan like puts a shoulder, 強く生きるのよ, Usagi. So this is more like, it's not the way contemporary people like talk in normal conversation. She's being kind of overly poetic and romantic to kind of be funny. So 強く means, it's an adverb of tsuyoi. which is an adjective that means strong. So tsuyoku means strongly. Ikiru is the verb that means to live. So tsuyoku ikiru is to live strongly. And it's a very commonly used phrase, like tsuyoku ikiru. And it's very poetic, like live, strongly. That doesn't sound really good in English. Noyo, again, if you end something in noyo, it means like, do this, my child. So tsuyoku ikiru noyo, usagi. So something like, don't give up the fight, usagi. Or it gets better, usagi. Or just some kind of like poetic, inspirational, sort of like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, usagi. Something like that for this phrase works better than the literal live strongly, usagi, because it's meant to be kind of funny. Because she's blowing it out of the water. It's like, oh no, you can't get a diamond ring, boo-hoo, first world problems. When it's like, chin up, usagi, like you've got this, you'll survive. It's that kind of thing. And then Usagi, on her own, she's regretting her actions.
もう少し勉強しとけばな。
もう少し, just a bit more. 勉強しとけば. So 勉強 is study. 勉強する is the verb to study. So if you change する to しとけば, that means like if I had done this thing in advance, in anticipation of something. So 勉強しとけば, it's like, oh, if only I had thought to study in advance, then I would not be in this predicament right now. And then, hey! That's just the exclamation that people yell when they throw something. Hey! Massatsu! So that's another thing that's just like, it's not a daily conversation sort of thing. Massatsu means like to exterminate. If she were a fan of Doctor Who, if this were extremely localized and Usagi were a fan of Doctor Who, she'd be like, exterminate, exterminate, as she throws away her test. But yeah, basically she's like, I expel you. Or maybe she's a Harry Potter fan and she's like, Avada Kedavra. That's basically what this whole Massatsu thing is that she's exclaiming as she's throwing her test away. It's like, I damn you to the depths of hell. Insert anything that you want there, really, is my point.
痛いじゃないか、お団子頭。
And it hits Mamo-chan on the head. And this is our first appearance of Mamoru, Chiba Mamoru. He says like 2 lines. Anyway, he says, 痛いじゃないか、お団子頭. Itai means, it's an adjective that means painful. So if you just say itai, it means ow. Or that hurts. But yeah, ow or ouch. But he's saying, itai janai ka. It's like, don't you realize that hurts? So itai janai means it doesn't hurt. But if he's like, itai janai, or itai jan, or it's more like, don't you realize that hurts? It doesn't mean doesn't hurt. It just means like, don't you realize that hurts? So itai janai ka, like, hey, that hurt. Odango tama. So odango is a Japanese dumpling, a Japanese rice dumpling. I actually don't really like them that much. They're usually filled with azuki, and I don't like red bean paste. The texture's weird. Anyway, odango atama. Atama is head. So odango atama, you have odango on your head. I think bun head is a perfect translation and localization of odango atama. It's like perfect because we do call somebody a bun head. Like I was called a bun head when in my ballet days because I often did have a bun, and ballerinas are often called bun heads because we have buns. But it also has that pun because buns are also things you can eat. And they tend to be sweet buns, kind of like odango tend to be sweet. So I think that is an absolutely perfect translation and localization of odango atama, bun head. Meatball head was cute though. I do have a soft spot for meatball head from the DIC dub. Yeah, because bun head, again, it's more like, I don't know, it's kind of softer. Meatball head is like goofier and a little more insulting. But odango atama, see, I used to think when I was first learning Japanese and becoming acquainted with Sailor Moon, I thought that calling someone an odango atama was unique somehow, but actually they do call it an odango. Like if I'm a kid and I want my mom to put my hair in a bun, I'll say, Mama, kami odango ni shite. I'd say, hey, make my hair like odango. That is what they call a bun. Like they have another word for it as well, but odango is actually a very commonly used word for bun. So it's not that uncommon to call someone an odango tama, is my point. So bun head is perfect, though meatball head is cute. Usagi starts to say gomen nasai. She only gets as far as gomen nasa. So sar, ...
30点もっと勉強しろお団子頭
And then Mamo-chan sees her score and he's like, 30点? You got 30%? もっと勉強しろ. So 勉強する, as I covered earlier, means to study. 勉強しろ is the imperative, like you should study or study. Damn it. So もっと means more. So study harder, study more. お団子玉
余計なお世話よいいって
Usagi says 余計なお世話. So 余計な means unsolicited, unwarranted, unnecessary. お世話 means to care for somebody. But yeah, it's like if someone has helped you, if someone has served you in some way, like お世話, that's what they're doing for you. お世話する. So 余計なお世話 means unnecessary help. So it's like, I didn't ask for your help, is kind of literally what 余計なお世話 yo means. It's like, hey, I didn't ask you for your help, buddy. Or like, hey, I didn't ask for your opinion. Bida. So if you watch a lot of anime, you know bida means kind of like, yeah, that's basically what that means. Like poop on you.
なんだってのよまったくもう変なやつ
なんだってのよ. So なん is short for nani, which is what. So なんだって, it can mean like, what did that person say? It's like, can you believe what he said? なんだってのよ. It's like, can you believe he said that? まったくもう. Again, Jesus Christ. And then turns back and looks at him and he's like looking up stoically and not moving and just kind of looking up, and she's looking at him and she's like, 変なやつ. So 変な, hen is an adjective that means weird. Yatsu means guy, person, and it's basically like a crude, rude way of saying hito, which is person. So 変なやつ, it's like weirdo. What a weird guy, what a weirdo. Then Usagi catches sight of the Sailor V arcade game.
あセーラー V もうゲームになっちゃってるの
And she goes, セーラー V? もうゲームになっちゃってるの? So もう, again, already. Game. Game ni naru. So something ni naru means to become something. So game ni naru is to become a game. And now again, we're changing this naru into the cha-te or chau form of a verb. We've done that like 3 or 4 times so far in this clip. So this is a good clip for chau. Anyway, naru into nachatteru means like, oh, it's become, it's already completed. Again, chau can mean either like to do something completely or to do something unfortunately, even though it shouldn't have done that. It's like, wow, it's already turned into a game, even though it shouldn't be already, because Sailor V has barely been on the scene, and like, dude, she's already been turned into a game. That's kind of what もうゲームになっちゃってるのよ. It's like, whoa, she's already a game?
ああいいなセーラー V ちゃんなんてさテストも関係ないし悪者退治なんてスカッとしそうだし
ああいいな So いいな Again, いい means good, but it's not like good. It means, ah, man, I wish that I could be like that. Aw, that's so cool. I wish I could do that. I wish I could have that. It's sort of an I wish, I'm envious, I'm jealous kind of sentiment. セーラー V ちゃんなんてさ So something or another, nante. So if I have a noun followed by nante, I'm either going to rant about it. I'm usually gonna rant about it. It's like, oh my god, let me tell you about Rob Schneider, nante, that piece of filth, that kind of thing. That's usually how nante is used. And she is kind of ranting here. She's sort of like, it's like, God, I hate you. Kind of like when girls compliment each other by saying they hate each other. It's like, セラビちゃんなんてさ It's like, いいな It's like, oh man, I'm jealous. I hate her. I wish I could be like her. Tesuto is test, but it really means more like midterms. It's like more important tests. Testo mo, so test also tests. So again, she's going to kind of be making a list here. Testo mo kankei nai shi. Again, she's using this she thing again. So we're listing things. So, oh man, I'm going to rant about Sailor V because I'm jealous about her. For one, item number one, testo mo kankei nai shi. So kankei nai means not related or not important. So tests are not important to her, or tests are not related to her, as in like she doesn't need to deal with tests. She, so there's one item, and then I'm going to go on and list something else. Warumono taiji. So warumono means bad guys. Taiji means to like dispose of, clean up. Nante. So, oh and yeah, let me tell you about, and cleaning up bad guys. Nante. Sukatto shisou. So sukatto suru means like to do something very easily, like in a breeze, like you snap your fingers and this thing just gets done. Sukatto suru. It's like I clean my room, like I wave my magic wand and sukatto suru, like it just happens really quickly. So sukatto suru would mean to do something very quickly and easily. Sukatto shisou, so if you change suru to shisou, it means like it would seem like she would be able to eliminate bad guys just like that. So sukatto shisou dashi, she's just still listing things. So she's kind of, oh man, I'm so jealous about Sailor V. It's like not only does, tests not really matter to her, but it seems like she could, bad guys, she could just, eliminate them with a snap of a finger, among other things.
それに比べて私は。
それに比べて私は ... Okay, so それ means that, but it means she's speaking about like another person. So that in this case is Sailor V. So それ, that Sailor V stuff that I was just talking about. それに比べて. So 比べる means to compare. So それに比べて means compared to that, compared to all of that Sailor V stuff that I was just talking about, the fact that she doesn't have to deal with tests and that she could just like kill the bad guys super quickly. それに比べて私は ... So as for me, compared to all that stuff that I talked about Sailor V, meanwhile, here I am, as for me, ... Fill in that blank, fill in that ... with, like, I'm nowhere near that level. Look at me. Meanwhile, I'm failing tests, using up all my allowance. I'm a klutz. I was late to school. I had to eat my lunch in class, and then I was put out in the hallway to stand. So this is one of those situations where literally that's what that means. So literally she's saying, compared to her, I am ... But a better localization of that is like, meanwhile, look at me. Or like, what the hell am I doing? Or why do I have to be such a loser? It's kind of that sentiment. Or just, why can't I be like her?
こんなテスト持って帰りたくない?
こんなテスト. So こんな means this kind of test. So こんなテスト, this kind of test, kind of has a negative this damn test feel to it. 持って帰りたくない. So 持って帰る means to take something home with you. So 持って is the te form of 持つ, which means to hold something physically in your hands. So 持って帰る means to hold something physically in your hands and take it home, return to where you came from with it. So 持って帰る would mean to take, こんなテスト持って帰る would mean to take this test in my hands and to take it home with me. 持って帰りたくない. So 帰る is to go home. 帰りたい, if you drop the ru and change it to りたい, it means I want to go home. But then if you change the e in tai to takunai, it becomes kaeri takunai, which means I don't want to go home. So こんなテスト持って hold it, kaeri takunai. So I don't want to hold this test in my hands physically and take it home. Better English, I don't want to take this test home.
好きなウサギ、とうとう見つけたわよ。
And then Luna, who is watching in the shadow, says, 月のウサギ, her name. とうとう見つけたわよ. とうとう means like at long last. Mitsuketa is the past tense of the verb mitsukeru, which means to find. I think that came up in a few segments earlier when they're talking about finding the ginzuisho, the silver crystal. Mitsukeru, mitsuketa. So mitsuketa is the past tense of mitsukeru, which is to find something. Mitsuketa, so I found. Wayo, again, it's a emphatic, stronger, feminine way of ending a sentence. So at last I have found you, Tsuki no Usagi. And that concludes this segment of Watch Sailor Moon Learn Japanese. I've got, I think, one more segment to do before I catch up to my pilot episode of this series, where I did the scene where Usagi and Luna talk for the first time and Usagi transforms into Sailor Moon for the first time. So there's going to be one more segment after this to catch up with that very first pilot segment that I did. Then I'm going to do another segment for her fight scene. And then I'm going to do one final segment for the aftermath of the episode. So there's a few more segments of this series to go. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want to see more. And also let me know after I have finished doing this episode, I am up for doing an episode like this from a different anime series, or I'm up for just doing another episode of Sailor Moon. It's no secret, I love that series to death. Thanks for watching this very long video, and I hope you learned some useful Japanese phrases from it.